Hello, and welcome to the Passion on Purpose Leaders on Center Stage podcast. I am Steph, and I'm the owner and creative director at VIM. VIM's mission is to showcase the enthusiasm and passion of business leaders nationwide. I cannot wait to have you listen to the show, and stick around. At the end, we talk a little bit about how you can be my next guest. All right. We're here today with Jefferson Rogers with JKR Windows and something new we're going to be talking about, the Home Services Scaling Summit. It's the clearest name ever that I am going to fumble a few times, guys, so bear with me. The Home Services Scaling Summit. I'm so excited to have you on the show today, Jefferson. I'm just going to throw the ball into your court as I normally do, and let you just introduce yourself and tell the audience what you do.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on, Steph. Yeah. Happy to be here. And you know what? I'm from a little town in southern Utah called St. George, and I grew up in this little town. I'm the oldest of four boys, and I've had a pretty colorful background. And here I sit in my beautiful home today after many trials and challenges with addiction and struggles with my marriage. But over the past 4 years, I've gotten involved with a mentor program and gotten sober and completely changed my life around. And thank goodness I held on to my marriage, and I've got my whole family here with me in this beautiful house. And I've built an incredible business over the past 4 years since getting sober. And I've got some cool projects that I'm working on with the Home Services Scaling Summit and my executive coaching that I do for business owners. And, I'm excited to be here today to hear a little bit about you and to get to share a little bit more about my story and some of the things that I'm passionate about.
Awesome. Well, gosh, thanks for sharing all that. I love off air before we really hit record. When I, probed you for a little bit about who you are, you were like, well, first off, I'm a father and I'm a husband. And I just love that you lead right in with that, and that you lead so much with kind of already just some of the trials and tribulations that you've overcome. So I love that you're already giving me the goosebumps, right? This is exactly the kind of stuff that my listeners want to hear, is that nitty gritty where this passion comes from. So thank you for coming on again. So you have a lot going on, right? You have, like you said, you have a lot of personal things that you've overcome. And in the last 4 years, you started JKR Windows. So why don't we kind of step back a little? Tell me 4 years ago, kind of where you were at both personally, and then kind of why Windows, right? Why are we going here with it? And then I know that's going to naturally lead us into kind of where you are today.
You know what? It was about 8 years ago that I was a mechanic, and I had long hair, greasy black fingernails, and I was smoking a lot of weed, drinking a lot of alcohol, wasn't all that good with people. But I knew that that wasn't the life that I wanted for myself and my wife and my kids. For me to be able to make 70 grand a year, I basically lived at the stinking mechanic shop and worked 70 hours a week, and watching my kids grow up over cell phone pictures was not ideal.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of backstory and things that I had gone through to get me to that point where I was capable to make 70 grand even, which was at that point it was a great income for me, and more than most people that I knew.
Yeah.
But around that same time, I'd gotten exposed to sales for the first time, and it was insurance and investments initially. But that exposure to the sales culture and environment and personal development and goals and reading books. I mean, this is kind of my first exposure to it, besides, just surface level type of conversation stuff about the possibilities of doing adult type of stuff. And now I was actually interacting and meeting people that, they eat, sleep, and breathe these concepts, these philosophies, and personal development. And that led me to Windows. I mean, it's kind of it's kind of a cool way that it turned out. The same guy that introduced me to insurance and investments got out of that business and later got involved in Windows, and forever grateful to that man because it's changed my life. And I finally found something that I could get behind and I could believe in, and people can also get excited about. And I knew that I could offer some value there. And as green as I was, and as rough around the edges as I was with the initial sales process, I knew that if these guys were doing it, that the only thing separating me from the level that they had reached was just a little time and experience. And so I went all in. I quit my mechanic job and I started in door-to-door window sales in Phoenix, Arizona in 2014.
No.
And now it's 8 years later, and I've created my own business and built a company of almost 100 people.
Wow.
And we'll do close to $20 million in sales just this year. But since we started the company in 2018, we've done a little over $35 million in sales total.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's phenomenal. So I have to ask, I know you said like it was through these relationships that you found Windows, but what about Windows could you connect with, right? So I talk a lot about, and my listeners know, I talk a lot about the difference between your why and your vehicle to do your why, right? And so your vehicle is with JKR Windows is Windows, okay? So, but one, I want to know how Windows landed on your lap, and two, how did you use that as your vehicle to serve your greater purpose?
Yes, love that. And it was right time, right place, the right person. I was at a place in my life where I was searching for something else. And before I was a mechanic, I grew up in carpentry and rough framing with my dad. And since a very young age, 9 or 10 years old, started working on the job sites and learned how to use power tools and nail guns and skill saws and wearing tool bags. So Windows was a normal part of what we would do on every house. At a certain stage, we would install Windows. And typically in the construction process, no matter where you're at in the country, the contractor's job is to get that price of all the materials as low as possible, because he priced that into the entire scope of this job. And however much he spends on materials takes away from the amount of margin that he makes on the backside. So inevitably, things like Windows don't get a lot of attention, because the more you spend on Windows, the less the contractor gets to put in his pocket. So no matter where you go in the country, new homes are being built with the cheapest Windows they can possibly get their hands on. And when I had this guy come and show me this replacement window sample, he brought it to my house and he broke it out of this case, and it was really cool. And it had all these bells and whistles and all these features that I had never seen, because the only windows that I had ever been exposed to were the cheapest windows you could possibly get your hands on. And I said, I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, and I was scared to death. But I said, this is something, I don't even own a home, but I am excited about these windows. They're so incredible. And I knew that I could learn how to do this. And that led me to working for that company and becoming one of the top salespeople there after a lot of challenges, getting involved in sales for the first time at that type of level. And then in 2018, starting my own business. And one of the things that I really found within, not only because it was a great product and I could stand behind it and I could believe in it and I could teach other people how to believe in it, but the one thing that I got really passionate about was the success stories that I was starting to create. Me being the first example, coming from being a carpenter and a mechanic to being able to make a 6-figure income within the first 2 years of doing sales, and changed my life. And now I've got an opportunity, as I develop my skills as a mentor and a leader and a communicator, to help other people come out of whatever industry they're in, making an average and ordinary income, and show them that it's possible for them too to make a high 6-figure income and change their life, change their perspective on what's possible for them with the way that they earn money, the way they keep money, and the way that they create a legacy for themselves and for their families.
I love that. There's, whether you've pinpointed it or not, there's this generational, and I don't know how far back it goes, but right, like you did this with your father, right? When you were like so early on to have not just this home services element instilled in you, but also just this like being able to see these things deeper than what's in front of you, right? There's a log in front of me, or there's wood in front of me, a nail in front of me, and a hammer in front of me. So I'm going to build it, and that's all I need to do. But instead, you were able to see like the depth of well, there's a contractor involved. There's window going into this framing. Like I just absolutely love the little bit I've been able to hear so far, like how much this has really grown from deeper than you probably even realize.
Yeah. I mean, it was in the beginning, it was just an opportunity for me to be able to make more money. And it was
Right.
something that I knew that I could believe in. And then, inevitably for me to be able to keep doing it and keep challenging myself and keep taking it to the next level, I had to really start finding things within the window business that I could love and be passionate about and keep showing up and putting in all the hours and putting myself through all the agony of being an entrepreneur and a business owner all at the same time, trying to grow and maintain a family as a father and a husband.
I love that. Okay, so a question I normally ask, I already know the answer to. So it might just be a really great segue, but I'm going to almost ask the harder question first for you. Do you know your why?
You know what? I think I touched on it a little bit with the success stories.
Yeah.
But for me, I have a reminder that goes off on my phone every day. And it's something to the tune of, my purpose in this life is to continue to pursue my true potential and to help other people realize and believe that bigger and greater things are possible for them as well. And that's why I've started my mentoring and my executive coaching. And one of the main reasons why I put together the Home Services Scaling Summit, because in the home services industry, there's not a lot of assets or resources like this event or this summit that we're putting together where people can go to and get a higher perspective and get some new resources outside of just what comes from the family business and the only things that they've ever known. And I want to show people what's possible for them to take their business to the next level and realize that it doesn't have to stay here at this level. With a little extra effort and commitment and personal development in yourself, that the things that are possible for your business are unlimited. It's just, we're only able to grow at the level of information that we have. So inevitably, if you want to grow, you got to have access to more information.
Yeah, and we're at a time where access to information is incredibly vast.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple great things you said that I want to point out. One of which, before we were off air, you had mentioned your own personal journey of kind of exploring your I always think personal development and professional development always overlap. I know someone's going to argue with me on that, but to me, I think just your personal development naturally leads into your business development. But you've done a lot with coaching and hiring coaches, and those who are listening aren't seeing this, but anyone watching, Jefferson has this vast bookshelf that I know goes on even higher and wider of books. And I'm sure a lot of those are business development books and personal development books. So where did that initial, I guess, I feel like it's a hurdle. People have to have this hurdle moment of being like, okay, this book can help me. This coach can help me. This program can help me. When did you have that, and how did that come to you?
You know what? I think it was getting exposed to the sales culture and hearing people that had these experiences in their life. And without ever having experienced it myself, it was like, maybe I ought to try this. I've never really read books at that point in my life, back in 2010, 11, 12, in the first 3 years of my marriage. The only books that I'd ever read were assigned in school.
Yeah.
And the only books that I read on purpose were like a Goosebumps book. I used to love reading Goosebumps books when I was a kid.
Heck yeah.
And the very first book that I picked up as an adult on purpose was a book called All Things Possible. And it's sitting on the shelf right there. And it was borrowed to me initially, and then years later I bought it for myself and read it again. But it was a story about Kurt Warner, which is he was a college football player that didn't get drafted, and he went to play in the Arena Football League. But he believed in himself so much that he kept pushing and he kept fighting. And this success story is absolutely incredible. And his belief in himself and his persistence led him to being able to play at a much older age than people normally start out at in the NFL. And in his rookie season in the NFL, playing for the St. Louis Rams, went on to win out his division and go to an NFC championship. I think it was NFC. And then he went on to win.
I won't correct you on that one.
Then he went on to win the Super Bowl in his rookie season in the NFL.
Oh.
So, it wasn't much of a personal development book, but it was inspiring, and the persistence that this man had, it was a very memorable book. And as bad as I feel like I was at reading, that was such a great book for me to start with because of the story and the inspiration that it kind of instilled in me, that, this is a journey that I'm on, and reading is a part of the inspiration that I'm going to need to keep pushing and keep developing myself and going to the next level. And since then I've read hundreds and hundreds of books, and I was reading a book this morning, and it's crazy how when you're aligned, how books will speak directly into your current situation. Like it's impossible how it applies to your life. And you'll know if you're reading the wrong book because this isn't happening. Yeah. So if I'm not resonating with a book, I put it away. But that book this morning, constantly, every time that I'm in that book, there's things in my life that are going on that directly apply to it. There's coaching that I'm doing with business owners, that there's things coming out of that book that I can now apply to these conversations. And it's just an incredible part of the journey that if you're not doing, you need to start doing, even if it's on a small level with just a book like All Things Possible and an inspirational story to get you started.
I love that. I do truly think that inspirational stories are considered personal help books. You just have to be open, and as you're reading, recognize that you don't have to be Kurt Warner to apply what Kurt Warner is learning in these moments and experiencing in these moments. And I think that's what I love about working with entrepreneurs, just because there is this different mindset around, I think, just life in general. Mm-hmm. But that clearly just snowballed for you, because now you have many years of coaching and personal development and lots of things like that.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things about people that reach a high level of success. All of the success principles that I read about in these books, it's, there's nothing significant about any one of them. They're all very, very simple. Say that again.
We have to dive into that.
Yes. Okay. So the success principles they're all simple.
Yeah.
I had one of my mentors say to me one time, as I was telling him some of what I perceived as my secrets to success. And they're all these really simple things. Like, I get up early in the morning and I write my goals down, and I read books, and I exercise, and I eat healthy, and I carve out time specifically and intentionally for the important things in my life, like my wife and my kids. And these are all very, very simple things, but what challenges people is doing them consistently for long enough to ever see the results and to reach a level of success from the simple success principles. And that's, I think, what has separated me and helped me grow so fast, is I was just committed to doing all these things and doing them regularly. And now it's been years and years and years of consistently being disciplined with all of these habits. And it literally leaves you no other space on your calendar for anything that's not productive, when you're so focused on doing the most productive thing at all times and using up every bit of your time for growth and progress and developing and maintaining the important relationships in your life. And it's almost to a fault because I've been going nonstop all day, every day for 4 years,
Right.
4 o'clock in the morning until 10 or 11 o'clock at night, running off of 4 or 5 hours of sleep on average.
Wow.
And not everybody can do it like I can and grow and make the progress as fast as I have. But it doesn't have to be at the level that I am. I'm just a freak of nature, and I'm completely committed to reaching that true potential that I know that I'm capable of reaching. But you got to start somewhere. Start getting up at half an hour early. Start writing one sentence in your goals. Read one page, one push-up. You don't have to start out and be a crazy person like I am. Just got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And how much of that, because I think I know for myself as an entrepreneur that hustle mentality, that grinding mentality, the rules of success, it's really hard to find your groove. And so through the Home Services Scaling Summit, right? Because so much of JKR Windows created this momentum for you to do consulting. How much do you touch on that? Or is it more so on the home services side, or did you take a lot of this personal development passion of yours and bleed it into what you coach?
Yeah, I mean it's one and the same.
Yeah.
That's what people are missing. So not only the exposure to what's possible and higher numbers and systems and processes and automation and scripts and things like that. There's a bunch of surface level business things, but as important or more important than any of those things are all of these very simple success principles that have to be applied and habits developed and old habits gotten rid of to make room for new habits and discipline and consistency. Those things are just as important as any of those things that you're going to apply to your business as far as systems and processes for you to be able to apply them consistently for long enough to be able to see any results in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gosh, thank you so much. I love these podcasts have been phenomenal. And what I'm finding on every single one is, well, I know the listeners only have limited time. I just could talk to you forever. And all of my guests have had such amazing stories. I want to give you a moment to just kind of share a little bit more with the listeners about the Home Services Scaling Summit. Who's a good fit for it? We'll make sure in the show notes that they'll have a link to it, but maybe kind of just prompt that a little.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things for me in the home services industry is the business owners, the entrepreneurs that I'm working with are very limited on the resources that they've been exposed to that is going to help them realize what's possible for their business. They either come from a family business or they're kind of gauging their success on the success of the other businesses around them. And this is kind of the bubble that they've found themselves living in. So a lot of times we're talking about 5, 7, 12, or 15 years where they've been within 10 or 20% of the same revenue. And for me, I started out just having big, crazy, ridiculous goals about the growth that I wanted to have every year. And then being exposed to bigger numbers helped make it possible for me to hit those numbers. So all of these principles, all the exposure, the mentors, the experts are all the things and the components that I'm bringing to the Home Services Scaling Summit to be able to offer this value and the exposure to other home services companies like roofing, solar, plumbing, siding, gutters, windows, whatever it is. We all have very, very similar businesses. And without the next level of knowledge and perspective and people operating at a high level, people get stuck right here at the same level and doing very small variations of the things that they've done in the past. So if you can make it to the Home Services Scaling Summit, Salt Lake, September 2022, we're going to be doing these events into the future and webinars and bringing as much value as we can to small business owners to help them reach their goals of going from 5 and 6 figures to 7 and 8 figures. And the thing that I found that I was passionate about within my own window business about creating success stories is the main reason why I've started this summit, because I want to continue that at just a much higher level.
I love that. I just want to make sure the listeners know, if they're not in Salt Lake City, is this a virtual summit or is this on location only?
It is. So, yep, we'll be on location in Salt Lake City, September 21st and 22nd, but it's also going to be live streaming to the Home Services Skilling Summit Facebook group as well. So we do have a virtual component.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. I love it. Well, gosh, thank you again, Jefferson, for joining me. I really appreciated hearing so much about what's going on in your world. I need more time to learn even more.
Yes, I'd love to catch up another time, Steph. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes. All right, guys, until next time, we'll talk soon. Steph here. Thank you so much for listening to the Passion on Purpose Leaders on Center Stage podcast. If you are a successful business owner and you lead your business with passion, we'd love to feature you on our show. We'd love to share with the world what makes your business great and how you have intentionally led passion throughout your business. Also, if you got any value or little tidbits from this episode, please take a minute to screenshot the episode and share it on your favorite social media platform. Be sure to tag us so we can properly thank you, and we love deepening our connection with our listeners. We are regularly putting out new episodes to feature leaders such as yourself who lead with passion on purpose. So be sure to subscribe to our show so you don't miss any future episodes. For more episodes, guest information, or details on the show, please visit getvim.com/passion on purpose. That's getvim.com/passion on purpose. Once again, I'm Steph. I am the owner and creative director at Vim, and thank you for listening to the show.